Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is a Friday edition of Enters the Lab podcast presented by the Red Zone DC Media on the Red Zone DC Media YouTube page. And tonight we have a couple of preseason games, including the Atlanta Falcons, and we also recap the preseason game for the Detroit Lions last night, and we previewed the rest of the preseason games this coming week. Also have some college football topics and much more in the NFL. So buckle up. It's time to enter the lab.
My fault. What happened? Eating Popeye.
This man says he's eating some Popeyes. Commercial.
I'm ready for a break.
Say this clip.
Wipe your hands. Wipe your hands. And
Commercial.
We over here about to die thirst over here.
Thing on the menu today, bro, and that's work. That's work for 60 minutes, bro. That's the only job we got to do today, bro. What you playing for? What you playing for? What you playing for? What y'all?
Get real lonely with the mic on, bro. Just want to talk to my friends.
Welcome to the Friday edition of Enters the Lab podcast, presented by the Red Zone DC Media and on the Red Zone DC Media, and a much more where you can watch this episode. It's your boy DT. We got the OG C. Henry, and we got Lady E. Hey, it's a Friday night football. Friday night under the lights. What's going on, y'all?
What up, though? Happy Friday. We made it. And we got football, DT, so I am very, very excited.
Most definitely. We see Lady E repping her team today as they're currently playing right now, and I see Raheem Morris right there with a little hat on. But yeah, it's Friday night under the lights, man, and we have a couple of things to talk about. But just for a quick recap, C. Henry, your team played last night against the New York Giants. What are your thoughts on that preseason game? How things flowed for some of the younger guys on the roster?
You know what, man? I think we came out okay. I think the game, the actual practice, the live practices that we had with the Giants were probably a little bit more beneficial than the actual game last night. We pretty much held out a lot of our starters, but it was a good chance for us to see a little bit of Hendon Hooker and Nate Sudfeld. I think that, personally, I got my eyeball on some backup quarterback situations. Because if Goff were to go down right now for any significant amount of time, either it can be either a long period of time or it can be just for a couple of games, we may be in trouble. So I got my eye on a couple of situations, maybe a Mason Rudolph, Carson Wentz, Ryan Tannehill. I know it's getting kind of nasty, but just in case. I mean, Hendon Hooker, he got concussed yesterday. He was 5 of 9, I think, for 36 yards passing. He did have 4 rushes for 34 yards. He trucked a safety. I don't know if that's where he got the concussion or not, but he got to learn to be a little bit more decisive with the throws, man, and be a little bit more accurate. And again, he's a developmental prospect right now. And for this year coming up, man, we got to solidify that backup position just in case we lose Goff for a couple of games, man. So that's how I feel about it.
Oh, okay.
I ain't gonna hold. I didn't get to watch any of the games because the Olympics had caught my eye. I'm sorry, y'all.
It's no problem.
But I
Olympics been entertaining too. But I will say this: the quarterback play was so suspect. I saw a couple of folks mention the name of a guy who was really, really familiar to both of you. You guys and gals. Mr. Heineke, man. There's been a proposed trade for Mr. Heineke for a 7th round pick. I mean, it was very, 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 very. I mean, it was just a prospective trade. But that's how it was looking. You know what I'm saying? That's how much of a red flag it was for us here in the Motor City.
Taylor.
I mean, y'all can have them, but yeah.
I think Tannehill kind of makes sense. Veteran guy coming.
We'll see. We got a couple more weeks for these guys to kind of work out the kinks and see where they are. But hey, I got my eye already on the situation, man. I got my eye on the prize, baby. You know what I'm saying? And 9 wins, it could be a big difference between 9 wins and 11 wins. If we lose Goff for a couple of games, those wins may come in handy at the end of the year. That can be difference between home field advantage and a wild card, or a wild card, or you'll stay your ass at home. So those games is gonna be key, brother.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You're right. But so let's go ahead and talk about some of the things this week. So I had just seen while on the podcast conversations with the San Francisco 49ers and Brandon Ayuk. They have so far had positive conversations, and there's talks about trying to renegotiate and try to get a deal done. Now, wherever they try to get a deal done, it still remains to see. However, the situation, as C. Henry would say, is very fluid. There's still things we need to find out. So, at this point, y'all, are y'all just tired of the Brandon Ayuk thing, man?
Very, very. Because it's really not that serious. If you're gonna trade him. You're gonna pay him. Like it's really not that serious. Like it's getting to the point to where now we playing Russian roulette. If we throw the ball on the table, hope it land on black or red at this point.
Listen, man, I'm gonna give kudos, man, to San Francisco, because I told y'all that for the whole time these guys had the leverage in the situation.
Oh, now we got a punt. Was that a bad throw?
They gotta decide if they're gonna pull the trigger on the trade. They gotta decide if they want, if they can get the compensation they want. I told you guys a couple weeks ago, this Super Bowl winning window is wide open for them right now. It may take a player of consequence, in return to make this trade happen. And I think if that were to happen, you probably have to reduce, or the other team would probably want to reduce some of the draft capital that's involved. I don't think San Francisco ever planned on lowering their ask, so they probably thought this was going to happen anyway. We're going to hold out for the best offer, but we know that we're not going to get one that's going to be that we feel is reasonable enough. So he's going to probably find himself here anyway. He really doesn't want to leave. He want to get the money from out there and stay in that, in that wonderful environment, that winning environment. He had a chance to get more money in New England, turn that down. So I think cooler heads are going to prevail. And but again, the situation is fluid. All they got to do is say one or two wrong things and piss him off, and here we go. He may be calling, reaching back out to Washington and doing TikToks with JD.
Yeah, I personally, I want Ayuk. I just think from their Washington perspective, as of right now, I think they pulled out because what they were asking for was probably a little bit too rich. And I think for the organization terms, like I get trying to get a wide receiver, but I think we have a lot of other things that needs to be solved, especially with O-line depth. Trying to find some starters on the O-line, and trying to find some ideal starters at corner. So I think they don't want to sacrifice some of the high draft positioning where they could try to get some guys for next year, try to get a wide receiver and pay him $30+ million. He's probably not even up to a Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill type of level. But I think, eventually we will get answers on what will the 49ers do. But I think the biggest question to me, I want to ask you guys is, if they do deal away Brandon Ayuk, do you think the 49ers can win a Super Bowl without him?
I'm gonna tell you. I mean, so it depends on really what they get in return. I'm gonna tell you, when we're talking about player compensation, strictly player compensation, before we talk about the draft picks, or we won't talk about the draft picks, because those draft picks really won't help them this year. But if they were to somehow pull off a deal with Pittsburgh, and they were somehow to get a player of George Pickens' ability, or George Pickens himself, I think that they can win with him right now. If they can integrate him into the offense, he's one of those big receivers, the XYZ receivers, playing primarily the position that Ayuk played. They can win with him, and he's a young guy that they can build around. When you look at, Cleveland was in this mix for a little while, and there was some talk about Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper is still in this. In at this point, is still a top 20 receiver.
Was
I think
he grabbing at his
he
Achilles, or
possibly
was he
could
just
be
twisting?
as good or better than Ayuk right now. We're giving up. What I'm saying, some age, and again, he's in the last year of his deal, but he will fit comfortably with the team like San Francisco, who's going for it all right now. His ability, and he's hungry for a ring himself. Again, play that receiver, outside receiver. I think he could fit right in if he can get acclimated to that offense. But again, though, it depends on who they would add right now. Those draft picks and things are not going to help them this year. So again, I thought it was smart of them to ask for a player in return. But again, though, if we're talking about a player of the ilk of Pickens or the ilk of Amari Cooper, it's hard to get a first-round pick back. I think it'd be hard to even get a second-round pick back. Now, I think you're talking about a third and some change or even less, depending on those type of players. Now, Amari would be a guy going into his last year, expiring contract. Maybe you can get more, but a guy like Pickens.
Wow, they brought out the card.
He's signed this year because he's going. I believe this is his third or his fourth year. He's a second-round pick, so Pittsburgh doesn't have that fifth-year option for him. They would have to get him signed right away. So either one of those guys they can win with. Otherwise than that, hey, they'll be taking a downgrade. I was hoping Ayuk was on his way out of town. I ain't gonna lie.
I don't mean to sideswipe the little thing right now. I'm going through emotional whelms. One of my best players.
Yeah, I just saw him.
Possibly went down with an Achilles. They just.
Oh no! Who was that? Bring us up to speed. I'm not watching the game.
It's Helms went down, and that's a key piece to our freaking defense right now.
Oh, for them.
Sorry to hear that, man. These injuries is crazy. These injuries have been crazy.
He can't even put pressure on that foot. That's an Achilles. Okay. All I'm gonna say is this about the whole Ayuk situation. I just hope he lands on a team that's gonna pay him and he's able to continue the productivity that he had in San Francisco. I don't know if that was because of the Shanahan system. I don't know if we're gonna get the same Brandon Ayuk in another system. I don't know. Because we got to think, Shanahan knows how to use his players. He knows how to move them around the field. He knows how to get the best ultralization out of them. So I can't say the same that you might not get the same productivity if he goes to somewhere else. So I hope the situation fills out. I hope he keeps the same energy when it comes down to it. At this point, like I said earlier, I'm tired, boss. He either going to stay, he going to go. It's like San Francisco, you going to pay the man? Or you gonna let him go? Which one is it? He gonna stay? He gonna go?
If he gets his money somewhat, I don't know if he's gonna get exactly what he asked for, but if he gets his money, gets to stay where he wants to stay, and gets to miss the majority of camp, I think that's a win for him. That'll be genius on his part.
Yeah, I agree. That makes much sort of sense, especially the money he's supposed to be missing. But enough about the Brandon Ayuk thing. Let's go ahead and talk about these preseason games. So let's have this conversation about this. So rookie quarterbacks are expected to make their debuts this week. Obviously with Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May played last night. He only played one series. J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix, just to name a few. And Michael Penix is also playing currently right now. So I want to ask you guys in terms, I don't believe we had this conversation, but if we wanted to rank heading into the regular season, rank the first round quarterbacks from the best favorable position to make plays this year or in the future, or to, okay, this is something that we might have to see ease them out in terms of how much they have around them. Where do you rank these 6 quarterbacks that were drafted in this past draft?
I'm going to say Penix is number 1. Bias.
Tell us why. Tell us why besides that bias.
No. Yeah, look,
don't just give us biases and the pony and the smile. Tell us why. Tell us now why, E?
Well, I mean, he was the first one, but I will say with the likes of, if he's not technically a starter, per se. You know, Kirk is the starter. He's been named the starter going into the season. So that's just the way the situation is when it comes down to it. But if anything happens to good old Kirko Chainz, he's there. As I stated before last week, he's been running with the ones up against the ones defense. He has been running with the twos as well up against the one defense and then the two defense. So they've been giving a little mix and match when it comes down to it. So they're putting him in there and getting him that experience of what it is to play with the starter. So he got Drake London, he got Pitts, he got Bijan. He got a good, competent offensive line when they want to act right. So I mean, again, he has a good offense. They're looking good when it comes down to it. If he can if he can get the development that he needs in, handle his throws, handle the pressure, and everything and stuff like that, then yeah, that's one of the situations and everything we can probably see. But I'm biased, so again, but I feel like he does have a good supporting cast around him if he needs to step in and take over.
I'm gonna say I do like the situations in the NFC North a little bit more for these quarterbacks. I like what Caleb walks into with a DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. When you look at the tight ends, they have Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, Swift. They made some additions to the offensive line. They do bring in a new OC who kind of comes from that McVay coaching tree, if you will. So I like that situation for Caleb. I do like the situation for JJ as well. When you have a guy like Addison, you have a guy like Jettas, you have Stefanski, who's been a solid OC and shown that he can coordinate very, very, very successful offenses. Again, they have a couple of bookend tackles. I like that situation for them. I like Penix's situation. The only thing about Penix that he, as of right now, he may not play. But again, just like Lady E touched upon, he has the skill position talent around him, a solid offensive line, and he'll get a chance to sit back and learn. The other guys, Bo Nix, I don't like their situation. He pretty much has to deal with Cortland Sutton being pretty much his number one and pretty much his only offensive weapon out there. I do like Javonte as a running back, but there's been some talk about him, his return from injury and how effective he's going to be. But again, though, limited weaponry in Denver. And what was the other? You said, what was the other? Am I missing somebody? I said Caleb, JJ, Penix, Nix. I'm sorry. JD5. JD5. Don't let me forget about JD5. Situation with him, I like Terry. I like B-Rob. I like Eckler. I think Ertz to be a solid, player around him. I think they've done a decent job putting the talent around him as well. Again, that offensive line is going to be some question marks. We didn't see Coleman in that joint practice and what we saw from Lucas. I'm waiting for the commander slanted clips to come out. I'm seeing all the jet clips. I'm waiting for the commander clips to come out, but from what I've seen, the offensive line is still a work in progress, and I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge. But I like his situation as well. I think he has solid veteran leadership on that offense, and he's got solid veteran playmakers. So he fell into a nice situation as well. Bo Nix is probably the one that I'm a little bit sketchy. Oh, I'm sorry. The guy we haven't seen any good clips of him. Drake May. We can't forget about Draco. That was everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you even say Drake May?
I'm sorry, Drake. I mean, that's how I be feeling about them highlights on my timeline. Like, what I'm saying? I ain't forgot about him. Y'all don't forgot about him. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I would say this. We're just basing it off of the situation and not kind of what they're doing in camp. Like I said, I got Penix up there. You can throw Caleb Williams in there. You can throw Daniels in there. You can pretty much those are really my top three when it comes down to it. Again, the situation in with the Patriots has been an iffy situation anyway. So I don't know about Drake May. JJ with some of the back and forth and the yes and no's and different things like that with him. I mean, like I said, I kind of missed some of the preseason games, so I am going to go back and watch. But we need to see better from there, and I need to kind of see exactly did he learn. Bo Nix was already excuse my language, was in a ishy situation anyway when he got picked because of the Falcons throwing everything off. So that Denver situation wasn't going to be a good fit for him anyway. You know, and I'm going to throw in a wild card because of how unrest they are down there in the swamp. I would not sit over here and say that we won't see my good little friend Spencer Rattler probably popping out if Derek Carr doesn't get his act together. I can honestly see that. I heard good things about Rattler in the Saints camp. So I'm gonna even throw him in there as a little ringer. That if Derek Carr doesn't get his stuff together, that I can feel them and see them pulling the plug a little bit sooner and earlier.
Spencer Rattler, okay. I'm gonna have to tune into some. Where are you at? The Saints? The Saints game?
He's with the Saints.
Okay, I'll check him out. Check him out.
Okay, that's very interesting choices you guys have made. So, if I had to rank it, I would definitely put Caleb Williams at number one because based on him being drafted number one to replace what the quarterback they had last year in Justin Fields, the expectations are very high in the Windy City. Having DJ Moore from last year's trade, you have Keenan Allen. You also drafted Rome Odunze. You have a solid starting tight end in Cole Kmet. You have Gerald Everett to be a move tight end to go with him. You also have DeAndre Swift to go in the backfield. So you have a lot of pieces for Caleb Williams to be in print to have some success. Then you also have JJ. Now, I understand he's probably not going to be the starter right now, but anytime you have arguably one of the best wide receivers in the league, and then you've got a guy like Jordan Addison and the way Kevin O'Connell runs his offense that is very similar to McVay/Shanahan, it is very beneficial to JJ, who played in a pro system. Michael Penix is also up there as well. I think that obviously the biggest thing will be him because he's not going to be starting right now with Kirk Cousins. 4, I would put Jaden because of, yes, he has some of the weapons, some of the foundational pieces. The only questions will be about the offensive line and trying to hold him up. And can he learn how to be more protective of his playing style, knowing he'll run and use his running ability. And I think the last 2 will be very tricky for me, but I think I have more trust in – this is going to sound crazy. I have more trust in the Patriots organization to put some things around Drake May and develop him than what I can expect from the Denver Broncos because I'm just not a big fan of Sean Payton. And Courtland Sutton is a wide receiver 1. There's going to be a lot of expectation for Marvin Mims last year to get some of the reps and try to be the wide receiver 2 as they needed. They can run the ball, but there's going to be questions about health. They had an undrafted guy last year produce, so it's going to be interesting. Plus, they're also in a tough division as well with the Chiefs and the Raiders looking to be a little bit better, and who knows what the Chargers are going to look like. So I think that will be my 6 in terms of the best to where they're going to be at in success.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, we're judging off of them going against each other, some of these joint practices. Again, they're not going to really see the full force, and especially some of these that are already named starter, like you said, Caleb. I know Jaden Daniels is going to be a named starter. Drake May is the starter. JJ is mainly starter. So again, they got to get it together because when it comes down to you're not facing 3 or 4s anymore. You're facing straight starters at this point. I need to see some, again, the jury's still out on Trevor Lawrence when it comes down to it. And I want to see these guys succeed. I don't really want to see a lot of these guys where it's like question marks still on them. Are we looking down from them 4 years now? And we're still trying to figure out, was this the right choice in the beginning?
Yeah.
You know, we don't want a Justin Fields situation. We don't want a Trey Lance situation or even a Kenny Pickett situation. So it's like at this time, like these guys got to pan out. And I be honest with you, everybody looks good, but a lot of them still have question marks. I'm still going to put a question mark on Caleb. I really am. I want to know, can this Caleb reproduce what he did at USC and do it in the big leagues? You know what I mean? Like, I want to see that, you know? So it's for me, I again, holler at me in 3 years and we can have this conversation again. But as of now, you know, I expect majority of them kinks, them rookie mistakes to kind of be limited. You know, I ain't trying to say come out here looking like CJ Stroud. I ain't saying that because CJ Stroud different. And I ain't gonna lie on that one. But I expect some. I don't expect the Bryce Young season. Let's just say that. I'm just gonna say that I don't expect the Bryce Young season. I expect a little bit more.
She said what she said.
Yeah, that Bryce Young thing terrible. That was a terrible situation last year. And I was hyped about all the coaches they had. Just it was too many cooks in the kitchen.
I mean, to be honest with you, DT, it ain't changed this year. They just got better on offense, but he still can't do a quarterback sneak. Just saying.
Oh boy, that's an NFC South hatred right there, bro.
Little old Mighty Mouse.
Okay,
so they got 5 running backs over there now, so hopefully they can hand it off and get them inches. I hope so.
Do they really though? They got 5 running backs.
I mean, you know, they got some names. I mean, I don't know if they're really nice, but they got some, you know.
Because Brooks
Hubbard and Brooks, and you know, they got a couple of them type guys over there. Miles Sanders still there, right?
They did sign Miles Sanders last year.
Yeah, so you know.
Oh, okay. That was.
He still wasn't a difference maker, but I'll be quiet.
I guess so. You paid that dude all that money. He ain't did nothing. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some college news. There has been some news. It's been some news. Looking at you.
I'm gonna let y'all two hash this out. I ain't got a dog in this fight.
No. I want him to talk. You know what we're talking about. You know what we're talking about. You literally put in the group chat so you can talk about this.
What's going on, man?
If you came in on time, you would have had your one-on-one. You didn't want to talk about it. Now we're here.
No. Listen, man. My time in this is, you know what I'm saying? Listen, that has nothing to do with no one-on-ones. Listen, I don't even know what we talk about. What? Listen, here's my thing.
It's not one-on-one with me. It's one-on-one with the people. The 144 people that are watching.
Listen, I don't have anything to say but go Blue. We still celebrating our national championship. You know what I'm saying? There's been a bunch of accusations made. You know, there's been some recruiting violations that they said, you know, were level 2 violations that, you know, seem to happen. And Mr. Harbaugh was suspended for 1 year. And he has some type of show cause. I'm still trying to figure out what show cause even mean. But whatever the case may be, there have been no wins vacated, no words of any type of championship vacated. So therefore, I have no worries in the world. I am going to let the NCAA do what the NCAA does, okay? And they're going to sift through all the files, all the notes, all of the situations going on and come to some type of conclusion. And I feel confident that we will still be the 2023-24 NCAA champions. And no matter what happened, we still would have beaten that Ohio State ass three straight times. We still would be the kings of the Big Ten until otherwise notice. And that's just it. So I don't even know what we're talking about. What we talking about? So we talking about Camp? We talking about Will Howard? We talking about Alex Orji? What we talking about? We talking about Carson Beck? What we talking about? What we talking about? College football. Let's do it. What we talking about?
Hey. I told y'all I ain't got no dog in this
Bucky
fight.
the Buckeye, why you
George
looking like
Allen.
that? Bucky the Buckeye, why you looking like that?
Okay.
Bucky the Buckeye, what's wrong, Bucky? What wrong?
Okay.
What wrong? What wrong? What you want? What y'all want? What you and Spartan? What y'all you and the Spartans want? What y'all want a party? What y'all want to?
The Spartans.
Yeah, you know what I'm
And the
saying. I thought y'all was a
Spartans-
coalition. They told us y'all was a coalition now.
Oh no, I'm a singular Buckeye. I don't associate
They
with
said
no.
it's a Spartan Buckeye
I don't-
coalition. I told
I
little bro
associate
them don't trust it. They don't respect y'all, but they trying to saddle on up, right on up
I
down
don't-
to Ohio
I
State.
don't associate with the Spartans outside of Norfolk State Spartan Legion. I don't associate with them boys up there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, I'm glad you putting it on. I'm glad you putting it on. Is this on Twitter? I need to retweet this out because we need to make sure they know because they don't know. They told us this is one of the most.
You coming to group chat talking about some Spartans and Buckeyes join together?
Oh man, you ain't seen the coalition. I told you, man. You ain't seen the post, man. They out here like Bloods and Crips, man. They done combined. They done tied their little nooses. I mean, not nooses. They done tied their little head thing, bandanas together. They out here. They had a coalition. They having barbecues together. They having cookouts together. They hating together.
I ain't making no ties to nobody.
It's a hating coalition going on.
I ain't
a hate coalition convention go starting up about Buckeyes and Spartans.
But anyway, let's go ahead.
No, nothing but burnt crow. All of them.
Let's get some college football conversation.
Okay.
And I want to talk about Alabama. Caleb DeBoer now is the head coach of Alabama. And I wanted to ask you guys this, because replacing a legend, we know it's very hard when it comes to college football. We've seen teams do it. We've seen some guys do it. And we see some guys don't own up to the pressure. Do y'all believe Caleb DeBoer can own up to the pressure of replacing Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa?
Oh, okay. Can I say this? This is my conversation. Let me say this. Okay, I'm gonna say.
Can we preface it that it's coming from a Georgia fan? Can we preface it with that?
Yes,
I mean, it's gonna be the same thing coming from a Michigan fan. Y'all beat him.
I don't know. Well, I'm gonna listen.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. I like what he's doing in recruiting. Again, one thing that I will say that is a question mark for me is that they went a lot of offensive heavy when I'm kind of used to seeing Alabama a little bit more balanced, a little bit leaning towards the defensive players, because we all know that Alabama keeps them a stack of 5-star defense players, 5-star offensive players. We all know that. We've seen that. Even the skill positions from your wide receivers and everything. He's bringing in a different flow. He's a strong offensive guy. I mean, we kind of seen that with him at Washington. And even if we kind of go back down his coaching, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was San Diego or Fresno. Which one was it? Was it San Diego or Fresno? One of them Southern California schools that he was coaching at. But if you go back and kind of just look at his recruiting measures that he has, he's kind of been a little bit offense heavy. So that kind of leads me to say that Alabama doesn't have anything to worry about with on the offense. Now, here's where my concern kicks in with him. Alabama was 17th total defense. I have never seen Alabama, as long as I've been in the SEC with Nick Saban, I've never seen Alabama in the top 20. Okay, couple of years, like 2 years in a row, they were like top 10 in a sense, dropped below into the top 15, but I have never seen Alabama in the top 20. So I want to see from him is him building back in the trenches, because him coming from a Pac-12 school to a SEC school, we're all about our trenches. We build our trenches. That's one thing. I don't know if y'all seen that little video clip of the Georgia offensive line where we got a dude that's 6'7", 300 some odd pounds. Like, we care about our trenches, okay? We really do. Now, that's really the concern. Now, one thing that every team that's been in the SEC that have seen the likes of Alabama, we have all said the same thing, from Vanderbilt all the way up into us in Georgia. He has to win in the SEC to prove that he can hang. Same thing when it comes down to Texas and Oklahoma. Sarkisian, yeah, he was over here. He was an offensive coordinator for Alabama. He knows how the SEC gets down. He knows. So I'm not gonna really kind of say anything about Texas, but we all know Texas have a good season. They come back. They don't have a so great season, but I'm not gonna put that out there for them. Oklahoma, this is a whole new ball game for them. Okay, whole new ball game. So again, the thing that he's going to have to pretty much prove is that he can win in the SEC. Then we can have this conversation. Until then, I don't know. He got handed a good squad. He really did. That Alabama job is a very good job, but it's an easy job to mess up too if you don't know what to do.
We ain't seen him messed up in so long. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I will say this. To your point, Lady E, I think he definitely has done a great job in terms of recruiting. He's definitely kept the momentum going there. I assume they probably have a very, very strong alumni base, a strong NIL base. Players are going to want to go there because the coaching staff seems to be always knowledgeable. They're putting guys constantly in the pros, so that's always going to be attractive to young guys coming up. So I think if
they're blue blood.
Yeah,
blue blood school.
If we can go there and to Lady E's point, if he can win football games there, I think he'll be successful. I think he's probably going to usher in maybe a new style, a new era of Alabama football. See them kind of air it out a little bit more. We saw it a little bit with Tua and Bryce a little bit, but I think he's going to go to be a little bit more of a pocket passer type offense there, institute that offense there, and kind of go, take that, that pro style offense to the next level and kind of evolve there. Now, again, to Lady E's point, will he be able to get the same type of quality of player in the trenches to successfully, install that offense? We shall see. That was probably the biggest difference in the Michigan-Washington game when they played in the national championship game. But again, though, he had a lot of time there to really, really get there and spread his roots. So we don't know if that's just kind of a function of, his recruiting and kind of how he normally operates, or is it just early in the process? So I'm eager to see what he does, man, because we haven't heard any type of falling off in terms of recruiting. We haven't heard any type of mishaps with him in terms of connecting to the fan base and the alumni base. And we haven't had, any incidents off the field. So that I've heard of. Maybe you guys have heard of some things, but I think he's got that, he's got that team going in the right direction in the offseason.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. It's a new era in the SEC, added 2 new schools, and we got a new face as a coach on one of the top premier schools within the SEC. So again, but I feel like a coach is going to be on his way out, so he might be ushering in a new coach by the time next year, but I ain't going to say that name.
The hot scoop. Drop the hot scoop on us. Let us know when you're ready to drop the hot scoop on us, Lady E. Might be them Gators.
Hey, Mr. Billy got to do something, and then you just been handled one of the top hardest schedules in the country. Might be out the door.
We're gonna see. It get hot down there in Florida, man.
It gets nice and steamy in Florida. Nice and steamy in Florida.
And they got talent. There, so there's no reason. It's talent all through that state, all through that region. So there's no reason for them to come to Florida.
Florida is like Tennessee to me. They got the talent, but they can't develop it. And that's what we've been seeing in the past couple of years. Like Nico, I want to see Nico do good, not against us, but I do want to see Nico do good. Not against us. But at the same token, I don't feel like they can develop Nico the way they need to develop Nico. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm hearing good stuff about Hendon Hooker, before his injury, but I'm hearing good stuff about him. You know what I'm saying? Hearing very good stuff about him. I wasn't hearing that stuff when he was in the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the development. You know what I mean? We questioned AR. We questioned if AR needed to stay one more year, or go to the pros because we didn't feel like he was developed at Florida. But again, you give them the right development, give them the right tools, it is. So I feel like Florida is another Tennessee. They got the talent, it just cannot develop it. But thank you, Florida, for letting us have ETN. Thank you.
I just want to read off Florida's schedule. Week 1, they play versus Miami. Week 2 is obviously Sanford. Week 3, they play Texas A&M, play at Mississippi State, UCF at Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State.
Yeah, that's where it got nasty. That Georgia, LSU. Would you say Ole Miss? Yeah, it got nasty.
Georgia, LSU, Texas.
Texas, yes. Yeah, that might be 4 losses right there.
Yeah, that's
they may not be bowl eligible. That's all I'm saying. I know another team that might not be bowl eligible, but I'm gonna keep that on another segment.
Who might not be bowl eligible?
Some school in the Big 12.
Oh no.
She talking about Buffalo Wild Wings.
I'm gonna leave Deion alone. He cussing folks out this week.
I mean, I will cut somebody out too when I know for a fact that my program may not be up to par. I would do the same thing.
I mean,
too.
That's boy Nate Wiggins just locked up every 3 receiver that came his way. Good God Almighty!
Hey man, listen,
he put some weight on.
I'm just eager.
I know he ain't playing at $170. He put some weight on.
Who they talking about?
Nate Wiggins.
Oh. That's my guy. That's my man. Yeah. Somebody cooking for him. You know what I'm saying? Somebody cooking. He needs somebody with them auntie arms. Somebody with them auntie arms.
He can lock down
as many people as he wants to. Cooking that stuff on there. Putting that smothered chicken. A smothered chicken, baby. Some of that rice. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, look, Henry, he can lock everybody down in a minute. But all I gotta do is go.
Oh my God, yo. Y'all are hilarious.
Boy, need some turkey chops with greens and some rice.
Smothered turkey wing with some mac and cheese, some yams, some cornbread,
all that.
collard greens.
Yeah, double that. He need 2 plates. He need 2 plates with some sweet potato pie. He need all that.
It's funny. He from Georgia. He literally went to Westlake. So I'm like, baby, who cooking for you, baby? Who cooking for you?
His metabolism too good. Him and Ford, metabolism too good.
I do have one team in question, and really the head coach. Do y'all think about will he be in the hot seat? Where are y'all at with USC and Lincoln Riley heading to the Big Ten? Because as we can see, Oregon has been recruiting like crazy. They are definitely up there with the Big Ten elites. Then you have Washington. Washington might be down. You know, they lost a lot of people on their team. UCLA, it's the coach don't even know what he's supposed to say at the press conference. But USC, they're that other blue blood heading to the Big Ten, and you got Lincoln Riley. First year they won 11 games, and the next year they had a downright disappointing season. Finished the season with 4 straight losses. Where are you guys at with USC and Lincoln Riley?
So Lincoln, I think he can coach. I think he can coach football. I think he can coach offensive football, especially. I think he can coach the quarterback position at that college level extremely well. I think he's been really, really struggling trying to find a competent defensive coordinator. I don't know if he can't recruit defensive players. I don't know if he can't recruit defensive coordinators, but he has not found a mastermind of equal ilk, if you will, on the defensive side of the football for him. So I think that's going to be a challenge. Now, I don't know what all is going on with them. You know, with this new landscape of college football, we have so many folks coming and going. Washington, I believe, has like 48 new players this year, either through, you know, from who they recruited or the transfer portal. So they're going to totally retool their team. But when USC, I don't know who's going to be their quarterback. I don't know who's going to be. They generally have some pretty good skill position talent offensively. So I expect some very, very NFL caliber wide receivers and running backs. They usually have some very talented offensive linemen. So I expect that type of skill level. And overall, I expect them to be a very, very athletic team. But otherwise than that, I don't know defensively what they're going to bring to the table. And I think it's going to be important for him to have some success early on in the year early on in his tenure as a coach in the Big Ten. Because I do think that this gives the Big Ten a lot of balance. Yeah, we're going to have some teams like a Michigan and Ohio State and Oregon, definitely teams that are going to be top of the food chain. But there are also going to be some of those teams like a Minnesota, like a Nebraska, like Iowa, like Illinois. Some of those middle of the pack teams where you're going to be able to collect some wins to get close to bowl eligibility. Now, you're going to have to probably knock off one or two powerhouses or very, very good teams to get bowl eligible. But if he has problems getting bowl eligible in his first couple of years, then I think he's going to definitely be on the hot seat. I mean, I think when I think of the USC, I should automatically be thinking at least 8 wins. You know what I mean? 8 wins in a bowl game. You know what I mean? 9-10 games. You know, if the talent level is where it needs to be, if Lincoln is the coach that we think he is, and he can finally get some talent on that defensive side of the football with a coordinator, 9, 10, 11, possibly competing for a CFP berth is what, you know, I think comes naturally for a USC, you know, fan or when you think of USC football.
I'm about to say, he at USC, dog. Like,
well, I mean, we say that, but USC ain't been right in a minute, though.
I get it, but
USC ain't been right. I mean, how long Pete Carroll been in the NFL?
What, about 12, 13, 15 years?
Was it right after that? Because maybe I'm getting old. I'm getting a little senile.
It was right at. Well, who was the coach after?
See what I'm saying?
Was it Kiffin? I think it was Kiffin.
You 20 something. So imagine my 47-year-old brain.
I'm just saying.
All the medication I done had. You know, listen. If you can't remember, I can't remember.
I can remember. I'm pretty sure it was Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin replaced Pete Carroll.
And Lane ain't winning nothing. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's been a minute since they've kind of fallen right, you know, kind of fallen back in the pack. The fact that we're even talking about an Oregon and a Washington, you know, being even more impactful in the Pacific Atlantic Conference is just crazy. You know what I'm saying? They come in and kind of like, you know, it's a lot of aura, it's a lot of history there, but you know, Oregon is the big dog and the crown jewel right now. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Same thing with UCLA to even a further extent. Like, they've become kind of I don't want to say a sideshow, but definitely take a back seat to USC and a lot of other sports in LA.
I would say this. I call Lincoln Riley a cat because you were hollering that you can beat the SEC. Soon as Oklahoma gets accepted into the SEC, you take off the USC, and now you got to go play Big Ten caliber teams now. And now you're stuck with a squad that you have question marks around. So, yeah. Do I think he's on the hot seat? I don't think Lincoln is on the hot seat because when you got a change of guard like this, I don't really think that it's kind of fair to try to do this, especially again, USC hasn't won anything. So now now you move to a new conference. Now you got to kind of adjust to this new conference and their style of play, the way they play. Again, you know, to me, the Big Ten is everything. You know, they got good defensive players, good corners. You know, some of the top corners came out of both Michigan and Ohio State. You know, you even had some come out of Michigan State. So you got good lines on both sides. Quarterback play has all been good. I mean, like I know, Henry, you said you had like Minnesota. Yeah, but don't forget
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
The Badgers.
You got some teams, but you're gonna have to get some wins. You're gonna have to build up some wins, and there's gonna be potential for you to get 4 or 5 of those wins every year. But you're gonna have to again. I think the bar is going to be raised because the conference is going to be tougher. You got so many solid teams, but also I think the recruiting pipelines are going to be opened up so much more. And I think they're going to be able to extend much more to the East Coast and much more to the Midwest to get players. And I think some of the other teams who are more so on the Midwest to East Coast teams, they're going to be able to go out west and kind of get into some of those markets and get some of those players now because it's one conference and you're going to be able to play within 2 or 3 years, pretty much everybody in the conference. So
Well,
games are going to be all over TV, whether it's Peacock, NBC. I think ABC and ESPN are still somehow kind of somehow in the mix here. And I say Peacock already for streaming, Big Ten network. So accessibility and for your family to be able to see you play is a lot less of an issue now. So,
well, and see, I think also that point is like during the years that USC and UCLA have struggled, those teams have struggled because the West Coast that used to be you can't recruit here zone because I had a USC and a UCLA. The past almost, I would say, a decade, you got teams like Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Georgia. You got all these teams from the Midwest and Southern schools coming all the way to California and getting these players.
but yeah, I mean, when it's kind of decided that, not decided, but when folks say that the SEC or the Big Ten, are the better conferences where the better players reside, you're going to see more players want to play in those conferences. I always thought the Pac-12 was a very, very good conference as well. A lot of athletic players. They always seem to be on the cusp of offensive ingenuity, if you will, while we were still running the ball like crazy. They were implementing a lot more of the spread offenses and things of that nature out west. So I think they were very, very innovative. But again, they just had hard times putting together defensive game plans. And we saw the SEC, we saw the Big Ten once they got to kind of embrace the offensive ingenuity, if you will, got those great athletes. Were able to start recruiting for the guys in the Big Ten. We're able to start recruiting some of those great athletes from out west and from the South. They were able to kind of catch up and kind of exceed the Pac-12, if you will. So, but yeah, it's gonna be it's very, very interesting, man. The SEC, the Pac-10. I'm sorry, the SEC and the Big Ten. I mean, it looks like a true super conference right now. It's crazy how many changes have taken place in like the last 10, 12, 15 years. The landscape has definitely changed. And it's crazy. I got to give a shout out to my boy Arnett, because he told me this probably about 7-8 years ago that this was kind of the wave that the NCAA was going on. And I was so entrenched into the old traditional system of bowls and this and that. No, it'll never happen. The conferences, blah, 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 blah. And lo and behold, man, here we are. Here we are. Shout out to Arnett, man. My boy Nettie Watt.
Yeah, E, you're back. Your connection was very bad.
So yeah.
Got that blender.
Look, I know I was in the blender. Blame Xfinity. For whatever they doing over here, blame Xfinity.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I do have one more topic, and we're about to go ahead and close the night. So there are reports about Florida State talking to the ACC about largely consideration of leaving the ACC. How do y'all feel about Florida State possibly making this move? And if they were to move out, where do you think will be the best conference fit for them? Would it be the SEC? Would it be Big Ten? Or would it be probably go independent?
I'm gonna let Lady E jump in there. About the Southern Belle. Go on, jump in there and let us know.
Hold on. Wait, hold on. Repeat that question again, because my thing kind of went slow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Florida State's in talks about moving out of the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to leave, we know the impact it'll have on the ACC. But if they were to move out of the ACC, what conference we think would be the best fit for them?
Not the SEC.
Why not? Why not the SEC?
Oh, let's hear this.
Yeah,
not the SEC. I mean, geographic wise, it might sound good and look good, but again, Florida's. How can I say this? One, Florida State to me is just not that school that can stay consistent when it comes down to it. And I feel like just like even with Texas and Oklahoma, kind of like how Texas A&M and Missouri did. They burst out onto the scene. People thought it was a major competition with those two because, again, they had Johnny Manziel, and then, you had Missouri coming in, doing all of that. And then now we kind of look at it now as like, okay, where does Texas A&M really kind of fall in here? Where does Missouri really kind of fall in here? It's going to be the same thing. Like even when it comes down to Texas and Oklahoma, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same. And I feel like if you're really going to come in here and you really want to challenge the SEC, I need a little bit more teams that play like the SEC to kind of challenge us a little bit. But I will say that they will get a Big Ten or run for their money, or probably go over there to the Big 12.
Hold on. I don't even know. Wait a minute. I don't like the way you had tried to, you tried to put that on there kind of real with a sweet little. Well, they ain't good enough for over here, but they can go around the way, and maybe they got a little something for them. Because, let me tell you something.
I'm just saying,
I'm not gonna take offense to it, Lady E, because you my people. I know you wouldn't do me like. I know you didn't. But
but let's be real. Florida State in the SEC, let's be real.
They was just 12-0 last year. They make a run like one of them other Florida team, like that other Florida team.
But who was really playing in the ACC
LSU,
though?
Once in a while.
Who was really playing in the ASC though?
But they can be one of them 9-3 teams. They can be one of them 8-4 teams. They can be one of them LSU teams. They can be an Ole Miss. They can be that with regularity.
Hey, Ole Miss is coming up though.
But they've been coming up since Lane Kiffin been there. And they've been missing. They've been coming up just short ever since they are just short ever since he got this. So what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna give a little bit of a funeral hymn, because once they defect, it's gonna be more to follow. And I'm gonna tell you what. We would definitely, in the Big Ten, we would definitely gladly have them, not because of what they bring athletically, even though I do believe they bring a lot to the table athletically, but we want to get into that TV market. We want to get into that Florida TV market. We don't have any type of right now affiliation down there, and right now we are bi-coastal. You know what I'm saying? A conference right now. So I think that if a Florida breaks out,
it's a conference.
Bi-coastal, baby. Bi-coastal.
I mean, technically y'all are. So
we bi-coastal.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? We bi-coastal, baby. We in multiple time zones. You know what I'm saying? But to get to that number of 20 to 24, I can see possibly a Clemson. I can see there. To me, there would be a lot of targets. I think, first of all, let me say this: Florida State, I think, would start the floodgates, if you will, for some of those other teams leaving. I think a team like Pittsburgh may look into the Big Ten. You know what I'm saying? They get into that conference and get that money, because right now I believe the ACC is getting the worst of the splits from the TV deals and all that good stuff. So you got some of these other teams. Boston College may look to move. Miami may look to move. Clemson may look to move, and I think Clemson becomes a very, very, very attractive team to a conference like that.
I will take Miami.
I think that Florida market in general.
I wouldn't take Florida State, but I would definitely take Miami. And the reason why I would take Miami is I believe, because the thing about it, and this is kind of why I said this too. We as Georgia, we recruit in Miami. We go down there to good old Dade County. We don't mess with Duval County like that. Don't get me wrong, because Carson came from Duval County. But we like them Dade County boys. So I really feel that will come in, but that will open up that market too for all the rest of the SEC to get down there in Dade County like that. Because again, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with Duval, but I don't really feel like there's a lot of prime talent really coming out of Duval. So putting a Florida State here wouldn't open up that market, because again, you got Florida that's going out there. You got Florida State that's already going out there. And Miami love they boys from around the corner. So with that, if they do make their way to the SEC, for me, that opens up that Southern Florida market even more.
I think all the Florida schools would be attractive targets for the Big Ten and/or SEC. I think all the North Carolina schools would be attractive, and I think Clemson would be attractive.
Mm-hmm.
So let me get this straight. You would take Miami after they literally let Georgia Tech get a forced win?
Yeah, because that means we can beat up on them too.
I'm done. But look,
if Georgia Tech can win, I know dang for a fact we can win.
I'm looking at it again from a competitive situation, from a TV market, money situation, and also again, North Carolina, one of the fastest growing areas in America right now. You know what I mean? So you definitely, again, from a recruiting standpoint, you definitely want to get into those markets, and then you're going to have a couple of other schools. Now, the problem is who's going to want the rest of those schools. Do they now go to like a Big 12, and now we basically break down into 3 super conferences and get up to 20 teams each, or 22 or 24, or what? But I do think we're going to get to that point where we get to 40 and 50 teams, and that little sector is going to break away from the group of 5 folks.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the same thing too. I mean, you literally got SMU coming from Dallas all the way to the ACC. So that's how I'm looking at it. I mean, I feel like we are getting in what, Cal? Wasn't it Cal that is now in the ACC too? So yeah,
Cal and Stanford, are they in the ACC too?
Yep, they are.
I don't think Stanford is too.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So they bi-coastal too. They bi-coastal
too. So again, I really feel that in the situation, yeah, Florida. And here's the thing. I personally don't believe that. I get it. Florida State is looking at the TV money just like everybody else. I completely understand that. But I think if it wasn't for them not making the playoffs, I don't really think we will hear anything about this.
You know what? I'm gonna push back against that just a little bit, because I just really feel like, and it's just my personal opinion, but I've been around a long time, and I really feel like Florida State and Florida State fans truly believe that they are a blue blood organization, and I can't in school, and I can't.
That's a rich history.
I can't say they aren't, or I can't say that they are or they're not, but in their eyes, they feel that way, and they feel like, listen, I want to be a part of whatever. What the biggest show in town, we need to be a part of, because again, we belong there. Now, I would love for them to be dominating their current situation. Now they're coming off a good year. This is a great year to do it. You was 12-0, and you did get played. I understand that, but it's not like we've been talking about Florida State in the ACC for 20 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's been a long time since, you know what I'm saying? Even Jimbo. What's my man name before Jimbo? What's my man name? Bobby.
The OG. Bobby.
It's been a long time. That's when y'all was blue blooded. Jameis brought it back to kind of, you know what I'm saying, prominent.
Yeah.
The crab legs brought it to the next generation. You know what I'm saying? But before that, it was kind of and there was a lot of wide lefts involved too. So, but I think that they might still be making this. But hey, for real, Lady E, them being 12-0, them getting played, it's kind of everything, and all the rest of the moves, all the other blue bloods that made moves. USC, they kind of feel like they, that's how they feel. Oregon push they into the conversation.
But I'm kind of push back on that, because I feel that the reason why the Pac-12 dissolved the way they did was because of the lack of the money, which makes sense. If they would have had a better opportunity to get more money on their TV deal about how they wanted to do things, I think we'll still have the Pac-12. But if you really kind of sit down and think about it, if Florida State made the playoffs. Again, I don't think we'll probably be hearing about this as now, like literally like, you know, right now they're going legal wise to go ahead and break free. You see what I'm saying? Like they got to go legal just to do all of that. I think we probably will hear this kind of down the line a little bit.
If they make the playoff, let's just look at it. If they make the playoffs, because I think they're probably, to your point, I don't think they're as upset. They're happy they made it, whatever. But I can also see a role where they feel like, you know what, we had to be damn near perfect with a backup, with all this other shit going on to get here, and we shouldn't have to be. So maybe I can see a way where, you know, they are still even more emboldened. It took too much. If one of these other teams would have lost, or we're talking about a one-loss Texas or whatever, one-loss Texas didn't make it, you know what I'm saying, and they were at full strength, lost early in the season to whoever, why do we have to jump through so many hoops with our second or third string quarterback? Maybe if we were in somewhere else, we wouldn't have to, or we can have this one loss. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like Florida State, they just feel like, hey, we one of them ones, and we're going to shoot the move, and, I mean, somebody will have to tell us no.
No, and I agree with that. I agree with, you know, the scheduling for them probably wasn't where they needed to be to make it look a lot better. But again, that goes back down to the conference and, you know, your AD. You know, again, I'm gonna go back to UCLA. I get it. They got a new coach. They got a new everything. But you still want to kind of play the best of the best to see exactly where you stand and what you need. You shouldn't be running away from that. And I like the fact that Florida puts the matchup against LSU. I like that. I like that they have their annual against Florida and Miami. I like all of that, but I need to see more. I need to see you playing the likes of Ohio State, a Michigan every now and again. You know, I don't want to see you playing Boston College. You see what I'm saying? Like I get it. You got to have your conference play, but again, when we just went over Florida's schedule.
Now let me ask you this though. As an organization, when you sit up and you say that you don't want to see them against some of these teams, as the school, as I'm Florida State, is that how do I address the competency or the competition level of my conference? Like, if we sweep, we sweep, right? I can't control if Clemson then fell off. I can't control if whoever else. I'm trying to think whoever else.
But that's
in the conference. I can't even think of Louisville. If Louisville, you know what I'm saying, can't be, you know, consistently that good, or Pitt is not consistently a top 15, 20 program. That's when you say, hey, you know what? We may have to bounce.
But see, that's the thing. You can bounce, but here's the issue. You got the scheduling. Like, so say for instance, like with Georgia.
Don't take your mid nowhere else. Don't take your mid ass nowhere.
No. Look, that too, but no, but it's I'm gonna put it to like this with Alabama. I'm gonna say Alabama. We always got on Alabama having an easy schedule and only playing certain teams in the SEC. Alabama never saw Georgia every year like they seen everybody else. They only saw us every like 3 to 4 years, literally, unless we meet in the SEC championship. But when it comes down to your scheduling, this is where I have the problem with. I get it. We want to play the schools like Ball State, like Tulsa, and all of them, getting them their money, letting them get their little thing. Appalachian State, even though Appalachian State have been whooping people's butts these past couple of years, but scheduling those type of teams. My thing about it is, it's good to schedule one of those teams, but I shouldn't see 3 of those teams on there when you got a down year in your competition within your conference. That's not going to help you at the end of the day.
That's hard. That's hard to project because these schedules are made so far in advance. They're like 7 or 8 years.
True.
So it's hard to project when my conference is going to be down. Like, I didn't get too mad at Alabama because, again, the perception of the SEC was that they're always going to be this super conference. And yeah, you know, they may schedule these cupcake games, if you will, but they're going to be 5 or 6 games within their conference that are going to be basically meat grinder games. And again, I kind of agree with that. That's going to kind of be the thought process now with the conferences that we have, the super conferences that we have now. And I think that there are going to be 1 or 2 premier games here, crossover games, but more cupcakes are going to be added. But the only issue with that is when there actually is a down year. We already pump up the Big Ten, and SEC, but when we don't notice a down year until they go play somebody else in the bowl season, and get their ass beat. So that's, we don't ever know. Like, you know what, we thought we was sweet, but man, the Big West, they came out and popped 3 of our squads. So but it is what it is. It's interesting to see what Florida State does. I think if they do somehow get out of this, I think it is going to open up the floodgates for the ACC. So I think the ACC is going to fight this very, very hard and very, very strongly. I think they want to remain in that fourth power conference. And I think, it would behoove them to, do their best to try to shut this down, but also try to maybe be a little bit more aggressive in trying to get them some teams and add to the strength of that conference.
Then we'll see. We'll see.
DT, what's going on in that game?
All right, that was a great
completely just, left us. Spaced out. What's going on in that game?
Yeah, that was a good conversation, man. I was keeping up with the Steelers game, man.
Oh, okay. What's going on?
14-0, Texans.
Oh, damn, Texans. Ooh.
But
Football is back.
Very great points. Let's go ahead and close the show. It was pretty good conversation in the college football. And college football is very much approaching. It's August 9th. We got a couple more weeks till we see the first college football game. But that's all we got for y'all tonight. It is your boy DT. I had to pull double duty. I don't have a podcast before this. I'm jumping up here with my ETL family. Very excited for the preseason game tomorrow for Washington. Can't wait to see how the team look.
So real quick, before we close out, I just want to ask. So how did you feel about the joint practice that you guys had? Was that Wednesday or Thursday? And
it was yesterday.
How do we how long do we expect JD to play?
It was me based off of 3 of the 5 starters were out yesterday, and I will probably play really Jaden for probably 15 to 20 snaps. 15 to 20 snaps. Then but
that could be 2 or 3 series. That could be one or two good series.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think for the joint practices, it was definitely needed. You wanted to see. I wanted to see where the team was at and where the questions still need to remain. Obviously, I still have a lot of concerns with the O-line, but now it's starting to point out more. If 3 of my guys are out, I know we still have to see Coleman play against NFL competition. But the depth of the offensive line is starting to concern me, which has already concerned me. And the corners, if we can't get pressure, these guys are going to be liability to cover. I understand the whole conversation about Emmanuel Forbes, getting burned in practice and stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing that somebody said was if you're expecting Emmanuel Forbes to be a shutdown corner, you're sadly going to disappoint yourself because that's not his game. He is a thief. He's a guy who's supposed to take the ball away, give the offense more opportunity. He is a D Hall / I would say like Trayvon Diggs type player. He's going to take risks, and you have the risk of reward, and you have the risk of, hey, you're going on the bench because you gave up a 50-yard ball. But I think we got in the work that we needed. There's still some things we need to work on. This tells us, look, we got a long way to go, but just because we got our butts kicked in joint practices doesn't determine the season overall. We seen teams went 0-3 and got kicked in joint practices, and they went to the Super Bowl or went to the playoffs and stuff. We don't know how this team will shape up, but I like what they did so far. I feel some type of way. They only show clips of the Jets as if like we didn't win some battles as well, but that's a conversation.
And you got to get on that Washington Commander PR team, man. Tell them to get out there, man, and record some of that stuff, man. Damn.
Yeah, man. But I'm excited for tomorrow, man. I can't wait to see the boys play.
Okay. Lady E, how's Mr. Penix looking? I haven't had a chance to look at the game yet. How's he looking out there?
He's looking good. Couple of miscues, but again, he just got to sit there, and people got to get used to him throwing a a backward spiral a little bit because he's left-handed.
Backward spiral.
Backward, some things kind of hot. Okay, they coming out hot. And then two, sometimes when he threw it, it looked like he's throwing back across his body, and I gotta get used to that because I'm just like, wait a minute. I forgot he's left-handed. So
that's right.
It's some taking used to. I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to do. I think they're gonna have him play the whole first half, and then Tyler Heineke and everybody else gonna come back and play the last little two. But they're getting him his reps.
I'll keep Tyler Heineke upright over there. We might need him. I'll keep him together.
I don't know if they'll keep him upright, but just saying.
All right, guys, that's all we have for you tonight. This Friday edition of Enters the Lab podcast, and we will see you guys next week as we recap preseason week 1 and much more to discuss as coming weeks as we get ready for the college football season and we get ready for the NFL season. So join us all year on the Red Zone DC Media YouTube page. Follow us on our Twitters at CN313, the Lady Goddess, and you also DT as D Cleveland Jr. That is my Twitter page. So long. We'll catch you guys next week. And this is Enters the Lab podcast presented by Red Zone DC Media.
My fault. What happened? I'm eating Popeye.
This man says he's eating some Popeyes. Commercial.
I'm ready for a break.
Save this clip.
Wipe your hands. Wipe your hands. And
Commercial.
We over here about to die first over here.
Thing on the menu today, bro, and that's work. That's work for 60 minutes, bro. That's the only job we got to do today, bro. What you playing for? What you playing for? What you playing for? What y'all?